The very first custom showcase on this channel was creating a deck around Time Wizard. Now that support revolved around various time monsters and their coin flip effects, but now it's time to expand this archetype with the Baby Dragon series. Baby Dragon is a card that Joey regularly uses in tandem with Time Wizard, turning it into Thousand Dragon. While he does use each card separately as well, these two are undoubtedly tied at the hip, so let's give this time roulette one more spin. The premise of the deck still remains in that you're running a bunch of time monsters that get rid of your opponent's cards on a gamble and ways to increase their consistency. The Baby Dragon series adds a new layer on top of that by further rewarding your correctly called coin flips, and as such the intention here is that this new support can mesh into the already existing custom support and is not intended as a net new archetype. But depending on your playstyle preference, you can lean more toward the cards that were showcased earlier or lean into this new Baby Dragon support. But before we get into the Dragon lineup, first we have a new Time Wizard, and that is a Pendulum variant. I'm on record for not being the biggest fan of pendulums, but it works well here because in Duelist Kingdom, Joey plays Time Wizard as a spell on a few occasions, even bluffing it as a set trap at one point against Yugi no less. Callbacks aside, the Pendulum Wizard of Time shares the same stats as the original. Its monster effect is a once per turn coin flip effect where if you call it right, you can send him to the grave, then special summon one time monster with a different name from your hand or deck. Of note here is that there isn't a downside to calling it wrong, which makes it the only coin flipping time card with no such downside. His spell effect meanwhile is on activation. You can add one monster that mentions Thousand Dragon from your deck to your hand, so that'll be the Dragon lineup you'll see shortly. The spell side also has a coin flip effect, where if you call it right, you can special summon him as a monster, but if you call it wrong, he pops himself and any dragons you control. But still before the Dragon lineup is in fact another Pendulum monster. It's another monster that Joey plays as a spell, and that is Copycat, now retrained into Doppeldog. Doppeldog's monster effect is that on summon you can send a monster that mentions Thousand Dragon from your deck to the grave, then this guy copies its attack and defense. His spell effect meanwhile is that on activation, you can copy the effect of a time spell or trap in your grave whose activation timing is appropriate. And you'll note here that it is a scale 6 versus Pendulum Wizard who's a 1, allowing you to pendulum any of the previously released time monsters who are all level 2, as well as the few dragons, and that starts with the retrain of Baby Dragon, Infant Dragon. Infant Dragon on normal summon allows you to special summon a time monster from your hand. His other effect is after you resolve the effect of a time card in which you call the coin flip right, you can tribute him to summon either Thousand Dragon from your extra deck or Decade Dragon from your hand, deck, or grave. And this effect, like the next two will have, doesn't start a chain, so he's growing up right as the time magic is occurring, and also makes it kind of tough to stop since nothing is being activated. And so here's his evolution, Decade Dragon, who when pendulum summoned or summoned by the effect of a card that mentions Thousand Dragon, such as Infant, he can target a card on your opponent controls and banish it. Then he has the same evolution effect, which brings us to Century Dragon, who gains a continuous effect if pendulum summoned or summoned by the effect of a card that mentions Thousand Dragon, such as Decade, and that effect is that any monster summoned from the extra deck can't activate its effects the turn it's summoned. That can hamper you a bit as well with cards such as Big Ben, but fortunately with cards like Time Zone you can activate your effects as quick effects on your opponent's turn too. And then he has the same evolution condition, which brings us to the boss of the bunch, Millennium Dragon, who must be summoned by the effect of Century Dragon. He's got the continuous effect which makes your time cards protected from targeting and destruction, and his trigger effect is that if he inflicts battle damage, you can banish cards from your opponent's hand and field up to the number of time monsters in your grave with different names. And finally, if he's sent to the grave by the opponent, you can special Thousand Dragon from your extra deck. So technically speaking, you don't have to evolve all the way from Infant to Millennium. It is possible to bring out any of the first three at any point and start the evolution from there. But with a card like Pendulum Wizard of Time, that can give you 3 time coin flips at best, allowing you to take Infant all the way to Millennium in one go, if you're feeling lucky. There's one additional spell to the fray, and that is Time for Dragons, which special summons a level 3 dragon monster from your hand, deck, or grave if you control a time monster, so whether that be Baby Dragon, Infant Dragon, or whatever other tech option you feel like running, but of course the intention here is to start evolving the Infant. This card also grants you an additional ability the turn it's sent to the grave, where it allows you to use one of your time monster effects as a quick effect. And the one additional trap is they grow up so fast, which allows you to tribute a dragon monster that mentions Thousand Dragon to summon from your hand or deck its next evolution. Of note here is that this can't take Century to Millennium, but it does give you the other 2 evolutions without needing to rely on coin flips. In addition to the new stuff, wanted to run through some of the updates made to the existing custom support from the previous Time Wizard showcase. For 6 of the cards, Timekeeper, Borrow Time, Watch Shop, Time Zone, Time Out, and Time Bomb, the only change is the artwork. A 7th card, Time Paradox, is changing art and name, now called Time Magic. As for the 4 with actual erratas, first is Father Lord Over Time, who in addition to an art change has a couple of fixes. First, he destroys cards instead of banishing them, and second, the burn effect inflicts damage to you first equal to his attack on the field, then burns your opponent equal to half his original attack. And this is to avoid draws as well as the fact that burning for 3000 was ridiculous to begin with. Second is 2-Time, which also has an art change. Who knew Time Wizard had a pull game? Now these changes here are brief. The first effect removes the ignoring its summoning condition clause, and the second effect, instead of adding an opponent's spell or trap from grave to hand, sets it to your field. And the last couple are Hands of Time and Wrong Place, Wrong Time, which in addition to their requirements of time card, adds cards that mention Thousand Dragon as well, to account for the new support that doesn't have time in its name. So that does it for the Baby Dragon Time Wizard support, now fully fleshed to incorporate more Joey-ness into it. Hope you enjoyed, and make sure you like and subscribe for next week as we go from majestic dragons to creepy crawlers.